I have to start somewhere.
Yeah. Alright, I think we're good. There we go. So this is the first time you're seeing Toy today. Just keep that in mind.
Today.
Yeah, today. This is outfit number 2. We got the red cap with the bluish blackish shirt.
It's a sorry excuse for not cutting my hair for a while.
Whoa. Don't need to start out so negative, man. What the hell? Well, let me turn on this music.
I just showered, so that means that like my hair will just be like a Dragon Ball Z character.
Like beautiful grass and the wind on a meadow is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. I just need to dye it green.
All right, let's go. You go green. I'll go. What complements green? We'll go with pink. I'll go with pink. You go with green. We'll be a very iconic duo. Are you gonna be at Anime Expo?
No, I don't think so.
I know.
It's like too soon.
My God.
And I don't have the money. Also, there's like this really, like, kind of a legend of a teacher at my high school, and he passed away recently, and his memorial's like the same weekend. So.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah.
That went dark. I'm sorry to hear that. I just,
okay.
Like a legend, I was like, oh, Osu something related stuff. No, just feels bad.
Well, I mean, it happened a little bit ago, so I'm okay now. Because, I mean, I had a class with him, but I didn't know him like super well, but he was like very, very important to the school, so it's like a big deal.
Damn.
So that's that.
All right. Oh, here's Toy's alternate persona. It's called Breakup Next Final, Facecam Final, Interview Final, Overlay Final, Starting Soon Final. So,
what did you do?
It's don't quite. I'm not even gonna wait. I might open this and it might open on your face. Oh, it didn't. Hells yeah. Okay, no spoileroo. No spoileroo there. All right. Well. Slightly.
13 minutes in.
Great start. Hell yeah.
I love it.
Thank you for joining me on this. I was, you know, I'm glad we can have a little bit of a back and forth, especially given that you're such a different player from me. So it'll be interesting. Like I read through them. Yeah. I don't know. Have you read through them before?
I have, and I was kind of surprised at some of his answers.
Yeah, same. Not exactly what I was expecting, but that's good. That's always a good thing.
But it also kind of fits what he's like.
It does. All right, well, how we'll do it is I considered putting the answers on screen, but then I looked at the length of some of them, and I don't think we can make it fit, even if we properly stretch stuff out. I don't think it's going to work out.
Font size 5.
Yeah, so what I'll do instead is I'll just read the question and then I'll read the answer and then we'll go over how we feel, if it's relevant. Like for the first one, not necessarily. But yeah. So in total, I sent him 15 questions. We got them translated into Korean and then I sent him over. He answered them in Korean and then we got him back. We had him translated to English. Because I wanted to make sure that any stuff that he responded to would not be inhibited by, you know, language barrier stuff. If you're talking about something that you're really good at, your skill, like speaking in a language that you're not that familiar with, is gonna cause some, you know, some loss in translation type of stuff. So, first one, can you give us a brief history of your time in Osu throughout the years, just like I've asked everyone that's been on so far? When I started in 2009, I didn't even know I could play with a keyboard, and I didn't even know that I could use both buttons on my mouse. So for the first month of playing, I played with only mouse and only left click. Solid approach. So around the beginning of 2010, I started to use keyboard with my mouse. That's 7 years ago at this point. Single notes, triples were with my mouse, and any stream longer than 5 notes were with keyboard. Around mid-2010, I changed to tablet, continued playing for a couple of months during the beginning of 2011. 2012, I was hooked on StarCraft 2 and stopped playing Osu until OWC that year. 2013, I had trouble with the staff, so I rage quit in mid-2015. when he got back with streaming on Twitch. So there were 2 hiatuses, if you're unaware. One where he literally just stopped playing for like half a year to a year. Then he had to come back in like 2013 is what that was. And then he played for another 2 years. Or a year, I think. And then he got himself banned. Then he, you know, and then after about 1.5 years, he came back to Twitch. I think, wait, were you around when he played at all, Toy?
Before the ban?
Yeah?
Very, very briefly. I wasn't like super involved with the community or like top players at that point. I was still like trying to figure out the game.
That's so crazy to me. I remember like his initial hiatus and his comeback like it was yesterday. And then they realized that there was a second hiatus and a second comeback. But yeah, no, it's...
I remember people were like, June, he's coming. We were like, what are you talking about? And then no name Twitch streamer.
Yeah, I think he got very, very invested in StarCraft for like a year, where he got, I don't know if he got Grandmaster, but he got Master. He basically
like
improved really fucking fast at that, just as much as he did at Osu, which no one's surprised.
Sure later he says that he was more invested in StarCraft than in Osu at that point.
Yeah, which is insane, right? Like, imagine someone that we view as highly as him trying really fucking hard in something like StarCraft, and then they realize that there's probably people playing that are just even better at improving. I remember that one of his most important things that he said was to his skill level was always the type of gear that he played with, which was really funny to me, because to me that's the last thing that really matters. But to him, apparently, that was like the main thing that always boosted him to like the next level, because that was the thing holding him back.
5 keyboards.
Yeah. I don't know if any other players that actually use 2 keyboards while playing. I should try that sometime.
Like at the same time?
Well, no. Like have like a blue switch and then like a red switch for when you're warmed up.
Azer dual mouse. You play dual keyboards, but you control your cursor with the arrows.
Solid approach.
I feel like there's a few people that do switch in between. At least like depending on what they play. Shiga likes. I asked him once, and he says that he plays with razor greens for anything below like 240 and below, and faster BPM is with reds.
Who? Cookiezi?
Now, yeah.
Greens? Aren't they like super heavy?
Uses razor greens. I think razor greens are different from cherry greens. I don't know anything about keyboards, so I'm talking out of my ass right now, but that's what he told me.
As you can see, Toy's anus is just as beautiful as his face.
But I touched it. I touched the keyboard.
Oh, good. Important thing to add. Touch the keyboard. Oh wait, there's another part to it. So after all this, it's been 8 years since my ID has been made, but I actually played for about 5.5 years. I haven't played for at least 2 years of that. I can't remember exactly, so you might get a more exact date by asking someone else. So he basically says, I've been around for about 8 years, but I've played for about 5.5 of that. Which is impressive, because when you take a hiatus, it generally takes you a while to get back to your old level.
It's true. It took him about a year to be able to do like the speed scores that he can now.
Yeah. And he even says, I'm pretty sure that he feels like he used to be faster than he is right now, which is, I don't know if that's true necessarily, but it's pretty insane.
I think so. Good time freeze.
Second question that we went for was, did you have any players that you really looked up to when you first started?
I like this answer.
Yeah, he mentioned Silver Forest, Thousand Phantasm, like Daru. I don't know if anyone recognizes the name. It rings a bell for me.
It's an old map.
I know the map, yeah. I don't know the player Daru. I can't remember exactly, but at the time, the FC looked really good, and seeing this was my first long-term goal. Or that's what I remember.
Daru is a US player from a long time ago. He's got the title Os Painter.
Os Painter?
Yeah.
Wow. He looked like he looked up to an American.
His top ranks are like 8 years ago.
Jesus Christ. No, I remember that map though. It's like super low BPM, but it's very jumpy, I think, or very like snappy. It's hard.
I remember it was used for like hard rock tourney maps because it's like CS6.
Yeah. I don't think back then I could ever FC it. I remember. And then I went on to
yeah, here's the play.
Oh, go for it.
I found the actual play. I think.
You found the actual play? Hold on. If you link it to me in game, I can switch to here.
Well, it's not on the leaderboards.
Oh, it's not.
Wait, it might still be on the leaderboards.
Hold on, I wanna play it. Not play it, but like play the replay. That's funny.
No, it's not in the top 100.
Oh.
It's unfortunate, but that's
feels bad. That's funny.
I'll link it in Twitch chat.
That's adorable. First score that he looked up to, man. There we go.
From, it looks like July 7th, 2009.
July 7th, 2009. Yeah, it's a little bit after that, I think, or around there.
Yeah. No, yeah, June 16th, 2009. He made his account.
Jesus Christ.
So. Everyone looked up to Daru.
Yeah, no, I remember a couple names that pop up from back then that then kind of just fell off the map. Question 3 was, is there a specific way that you've approached the game since the beginning, or did how you practice change a lot through the years? I thought that was an interesting question to see if there was anything like inherently different about how he approached improvement.
Yeah.
Little things may have changed, but nothing important. I usually play maps that are difficult to me and spent time to get first on it. I don't play multi unless I'm invited to, which is a very...
Really, like, what we've kind of speculated he does is he just plays whatever's hard for him until he's the best at that map.
Yeah, which, you know, it's very generic answer, but if you look one level behind that, when I was talking to Wolf, one thing that he also said is I'm extremely perfectionist when it comes to the maps that I play. So even all the old maps, I would just try and perfect them as much as I could, which is not necessarily something that most people do. Even though you can say for yourself, like, yes, I do play stuff that's too hard for me, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have the mindset of I want to do this as perfect as possible and better than everyone else on here, which is like a step above that, right?
Yeah, and if you like remembered, I'm sure there's a YouTube clip of one of his streams from like 2013. He would like F2 and then play the map until he got #1, and then F2 and then do the same thing. Yeah,
I remember that, like one of his few streams that he did. It's just insane.
Back then, at least.
Or even like, I remember a recent one on Inai Sakai, the new one with Hidden Heart Rock. He was FCing it with like 99% or 99.8, whatever, and he got a couple hundreds on singles, and he literally like mashed his keyboard because he was upset that he didn't assess that part. Even though it was like that play was already like way above literally everyone else, and everyone else playing that map would have been like, oh my god, I actually hit the singles, and he was like, fuck, I'm so mad, I got hundreds, oh my god.
Yeah, just like his Udachi no ribbon play where he got 1/100, so he just stopped playing the spinner.
Yeah. And that's stuff that you see back in people like Raruchi as well, right? Like the troll endings where they're like, I'm not satisfied with this, so whatever.
Yeah.
And follow-up question to that was, did you have any practicing anything difficult in anything else before you started Osu? Like, I know that there is, let's say a music theory or any like sports, there's going to be a general approach to how you really practice something, how you deliberately practice something. So it would have been interesting to see if anything from beforehand, before Osu, he carried over into Osu.
Yeah,
however,
how to learn.
Yeah, exactly. I said no, nothing like that. If you ignore the anything else before Osu part, I played StarCraft 2 harder than Osu, which I mentioned earlier, which is pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Because somehow just way above the rest without apparently trying his hardest, which is pretty insane.
Well,
sad
the next
Raruchi.
question actually is his answer for the next question kind of calls back to what we were just saying.
Yeah, what do you
for number...
Go for it.
Yeah, sorry.
Go for it.
His fifth question, we asked, what do you personally think sets you apart from pretty much every other player? And his answer, like we had just been talking about, says, I don't know, maybe the fact that I'm not satisfied usually. I think me liking hard songs to play is a part of that. I really don't know, but I did play harder than all the players out there. Question mark, I guess.
Yeah, like he's not sure if that is the
I
case,
guess...
but we'll alternate question reading just so we have like a little system. Cool. We should have probably said that beforehand.
Well,
but yeah, no, I think that definitely ties into, you know, the same thing from earlier, just trying to perfect it to the point where it's better than everyone else on it. Yeah. Which again is just that one step above. Just like there is just trying to see stuff that's really hard, and then there's trying to perfect it as best you can, which is again that next level, which you find back in basically every really good player. What skills do you feel are most important and fundamental to develop? You know, with that question, I was kind of like aiming at, does his base level approach of what he feels is extremely important differ in any way, or does he have like a specific outlook? He said consistency and working hard to actually play. Most people don't actually try. It's not because they just suck. But I don't know if this is something people can really improve on. This part is really where talent matters. If you only think about the skill that matters when you play, speed and finger control, if you can do that, aim comes to you pretty naturally. I think the main thing to take away from that is just the difference between just playing to put in the time and playing very, very consciously. Which, I don't know, is that how you mainly play? That seems to be how you mainly play to me, but I might be wrong.
Playing really consciously?
Yeah, and like making sure that every like small mistake that you make, like you try and be aware of why, and then actively, consciously work through the process of correcting those mistakes, etc.
That was me when I was like trying to get better, and like I had people that I was trying to be better than, and I would like try and do the same plays. I would be like very actively like trying to figure out why I was not like getting the same results. But like really lately, because I haven't really been like getting better very much, it's because I just kind of let my mind wander and I just play whatever at this point. So right. I guess you can kind of, you have the disparity of like me when I'm trying to actually get better at the game, or me when I'm just playing the game for the game, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that we can take away from that answer that basically whenever he plays, he is going through that process, regardless of the day, regardless of when. That seems to just be his default. Which if you just... Yeah, I know his camera's delayed. Your camera's delayed, Toy, because Skype. And we're on a Discord call with Skype on the side for the camera. So, you know, it's okay. What was I saying? Right, like if you do that for a long, long time, if that is your default, you're just going to improve at such an incredible rate in comparison to when you don't. However, it is very, very exhausting. Like, me for the past month, like and even then, I've not necessarily done that all the time because it was too exhausting for me to constantly focus on my weak points. Yeah. It's super confronting. It's really mentally draining. So it's one of those things that I'm not sure if it was just like talent in that sense, where it's like it doesn't bother you as much, or just this innate drive to do that, to approach it that way. But that seems to be very much the fundamental difference in approach there. What do you feel about the fact that he says aim comes to you pretty naturally if you can do speed and finger control? That's an interesting little addition. Is it?
I mean, I feel like his aim just came so naturally to him that that's what it feels like. But I'm sure there's people out there that like have big trouble with aim, and like they have to actually focus on getting better aim.
Right.
Because like I think this is where that comes in, where you're like, depending on what you're good at, like what is important to you seems different. For Cookiezi, back for a while back, he couldn't actually stream as well as he could now, and so that was his big like obstacle. That's why he says if you can do speed and finger control, then aim is easy. It's because he always had the aim. It's not because like, I don't know, that aim to everyone comes naturally. I think it just came naturally to him.
Right. Okay. I think I can relate to him in that sense, where I always feel like if I can read something properly, then I can also aim it. Like the slow stuff that you play on AR8, 170 BPM, very straightforward patterns. I might not be able to aim it just because I can't read it as well. Whereas, you know, once I can read it, I can aim it. He probably feels very similar on obviously a much higher level, but you know, that was a little interesting addition where I read it and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, such like it was strange to me at first, but it kind of makes sense if you put it in context.
All right, you're up for number 7.
Question 7 says, how did you decide what skills to give most attention throughout the years? And he responded, I didn't plan anything like that, but it was mostly based on ranked or random maps that I found. For example, back when I couldn't even do 200 BPM, Chipscape was ranked and I felt like I could actually do it, so I concentrated on practicing speed. Or like when Dragon Force was ranked, so I started practicing 200 BPM streams, or because of Freedom Dive practicing 220 BPM streams, etc. It was clearly stated with numbers, so anything speed or stamina related stuck to me, but aim and other things were the same all around. Nothing has changed. I guess he's saying that like with speed and stamina, because they each have like, you can see the number of like how fast you're going. It has like this little meter of like how much faster, how much harder something is. It's easier to like to train that for him, but like aim and other things, you don't have a meter of how good your reading is or how good your aim is. It's just kind of, you feel it out. And I think that's what he's trying to get at.
Also the fact that he kind of let what skills to really practice depend on which maps were relevant to him at any specific point. Like Chipscape for reference is 220 BPM, which back then when it was released was extremely fast. Like I'm pretty sure he was the only one to FC it for quite a while. So it seems like he just kind of let that determine what he focused on. Whereas right now, you know, there's like an infinite amount of stuff to play. Back then, that was not necessarily the case. It was pretty, like the hardest maps in the game that happened to be ranked were obvious. Like everyone knew. It was a very select couple of maps. So apparently he kind of just went with that. What are some do you have anything to add to that?
Not really. Like the only other person that came close was Wubblefulf in 2012, which was like a year after Chipscape was ranked. So.
Oh, for the FC?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's just my input.
What are some specific ways in which you practice reading, accuracy, aim, etc.?
This one was interesting to me.
It really was. Basically, what I was trying to get at, you know, do you have a specific approach per skill? The most interesting thing, right? Exactly. The most interesting thing to me was I don't practice reading at all. I don't feel the need to, even if the AR is high or low, or even if the patterns are hard. If I just memorize it, it's easy to hit. I don't find it fun. I actually really don't like it, so I don't practice it, and instead memorize it when I need to, which is referring to this reading. For accuracy, you either need to know the song or just memorize a couple of patterns. Single notes or nothing, maybe triples, or less normal patterns. It's timing. Another tip would be to practice muscle memory for different BPM ranges. Aim. Memorize how to hit it for each different pattern, triangles, squares, etc. If you can't do it easily, it's impossible to hit hard ones, and even if you did, it's just luck. For any map, it's bound to have similar patterns, so if you can easily hit many different patterns, you can do that constantly. For speed, maybe change the angle of your hand you use to hit notes, or find a way to hit it and practice until you can hit it easily, question mark. Honestly, I'm not that fast myself, so I can't answer even if you ask me. And here's your meme aspect of the of this hour. It's meme o'clock. Stamina. Play more, period. Just play until you get tired.
In caps, too.
In caps, yes. Just play more until you get tired, rest a little, and do that as often as you can. If you work yourself too hard, you can injure yourself like a certain someone that lives somewhere. Assuming he's referring to someone like Raimu. Know your limit and keep at it.
A certain someone that
A
lives
certain
somewhere.
someone.
Wow.
Yeah. That is a long fucking answer. Most fascinating to me is the reading thing. He talks about memorizing, which I'm not sure if by memorizing what he really means is just like deciphering the pattern and like being consciously aware of how it goes. Maybe because it's translated back and forth, you know, if we're not entirely sure. Maybe that's what he means. Because I doubt he means memorizing in the sense of like flashlight, right?
I honestly kind of think that he does.
Oh.
If he like memorizes like what the pattern is because like imagine you're playing something like Pili Pala and there's like a jump stream.
Like what?
You memorize where the position of the jump stream is, so you don't have to like read it. You just remember that it's gonna go in this direction. You can kind of prep for it. Does that make sense?
It does for someone like you, but I can't relate because whenever I try and very consciously play a pattern, I've told you this before, like in the run up to that pattern, I'll just kind of, I'll derp up or I'll like miss my cue for when the actual pattern is coming on, or I'll like play far too consciously and I'll just fuck it up that way.
Yeah. Or how about this? Do you remember when you were first learning hard rock? It's probably like a long time ago, but do you remember
that was
like
before you were
first
born.
Trying out hard rock? Because I remember that I couldn't
not really.
read
I don't.
AR10.
I don't remember not being able to do AR10.
Really? Because I remember when I first tried it, I couldn't read AR10 very well, so I could like kind of hit singles, but triples would always like trip me up, and so I would just memorize where the I would just memorize where all the triples were, and then I could play maps a lot easier. And I think it's something similar to that.
Interesting.
Could be at least for high AR.
How do you then like? Did you ever have issues like memorizing where the triples are and then knowing like the actual physical moment when it was? Because I will always like, I'll memorize kind of where it is, but I'll not be able to remember exactly where it is.
Well, for me, I could like kind of react instead of read where the note was, but in terms of like the actual pattern or like the triplet itself, the rhythm, I couldn't remember. So I would listen a lot more to the music, and I would react to where it was, and then just remember, oh, there's a triplet during this part of the song.
Oh,
so it could be
that makes sense.
similar to that.
So more about what you tie it to, rather than like visually actually remembering it. Okay, that makes more sense. I don't know why I never thought of that. No, but the fact that he says I don't practice reading at all, I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't.
To be fair, I've never consciously practiced reading either. Like it just kind of was a result of what it was, a product of what I played. Like I've never like buckled down and been like, I'm gonna try and do better reading. I think it was more just like, this is something that's hard for me, so I'm gonna try it again, and it was because of reading. Am I making sense?
No, you're definitely making sense. Do you feel that there's like a for a player like you, which I think is far more in the direction of the approach that someone like Cookiezi has than me. Do you feel like there's a different, like a fundamentally different way in which you take in like the information thrown at you to the point where the AR just matters less? If that makes sense.
I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, because you don't really have the, you don't have my perception, obviously, of how someone like me would take stuff in. But it's hard to say. No, it was definitely interesting. Yeah. The memorizing aspect is baffling to me, because that's just something that I've never been able to do. Then again, maybe he just started out with a different approach. And I can understand that if you have issues with a certain pattern and then you memorize it and then you're actively able to turn that memorization into playing it properly based off memorization. And then when you properly play it, that then means that you're practicing it to the point where you no longer have to memorize it. So, then you're kind of building and building on the same thing. Let's see.
Actually, like just yesterday, I tried like quote unquote memorizing something. It was like switched on Lotus and some pattern reversed some weird way that made it really awkward to aim. And I just like memorized where it was in the song so that I could like properly aim it without like feeling like it kind of like snuck up on me.
Do you ever have situations where you will memorize something, but you'll, like, even if it's pretty straightforward, you'll still not be able to hit it?
Yeah, and then I'll attribute it to my aim being off or not good enough.
Like, for example, an issue that like, the most clear example as to why I never understood memorization is, say, like, the back and forth streams on Made of Fire. I can understand them perfectly, but I cannot hit them for the life of me. Which is like this interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Just random thoughts. Just It's very interesting.
No, that makes sense.
Memorize how to hit it for each different pattern. Makes sense as well. I feel like if you just, in terms of aiming, dumb it down to the most basic level, from squares to triangles, etc., and go from there. Well, I mean, that's as basic as you can get.
Yeah, I think he's just saying, like, once he learns to play a pattern, then he can just start to try and do that pattern faster.
Yeah, especially if he's like very conscious of playing, then learning it to do it better. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, like it just makes me think of his play, like DT play on Story of My Wife, where it's like those are all just basic geometric patterns, and like I'm sure he just kept trying to get it faster and faster until he almost FCs it.
Yeah, because an important thing to always remember is that if you perfect slower, more complicated stuff, then the faster, more simple stuff is gonna be a lot easier to process because it's just not as much to take in.
Yeah, and then it only comes down to speed and stamina, like he said, where that's like the one thing that if he gets it to that level, then he can perform like consistently as if this was completely natural to him.
Toy's trying to escape the camera frame.
Oh, it's
trying to run away.
I'm looking at the Skype one, which is very different. Do I have to lean on the left? Yeah,
there you go. Well, how do you feel about the accuracy part, where he's basically like singles and triples are super standard. Outside of that, if you just memorize a couple patterns in the song or just the BPM, you're good. Which obviously is a lot more complicated than that in practice. But just going from like super basic and just going from there.
Yeah, but like that's also just kind of how I looked at accuracy as well. Is I don't usually get good accuracy on sight reads because patterns will like kind of mess me up. But after I play it 2 or 3 times and I know what the patterns are, I could do like 99 or higher.
Or United SSs, or you know. Simple stuff. Daily. Yeah, exactly. For speed, I mean, we went over that. Stamina, same thing. Play more, capitalize, period.
I think it's important to note like the difference between like pain of injury and like pain as in like you're getting tired or like like feeling burnt.
Pain from working your muscles is like this low burning pain, whereas actual pain is, well, pain.
Sharp,
right. Don't pull a Raimu.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. You're up for number 9.
So we asked, have you ever specifically focused on improving your consistency? What's some general consistency advice you could give? And again, he says, I never really bothered to practice it. Just from the beginning, I couldn't do hard things, but if I did it once, I could do it again and again. Just like that, my skill improved, so that still stayed the same from the beginning. If you say you don't have consistency because you can't hit hard patterns, it just means it's hard for you. You don't have the skill, XD.
XD capitalized.
For example, someone who can FC extra difficulties don't miss often in normal or hard maps. It's like that. I don't know how you can fix consistency issues, but if you don't have it, just memorize the map.
Easy, just stop making easy as that.
Just memorize it. If you can stop making unnecessary movements, you would be able to hit it for sure.
Oh yeah. Thank you, chat, for the input. I appreciate it. I knew at the moment I saw that XD, the moment I heard you read it, I was like, all right, bye-bye chat experience. Again, I never really bothered to practice it is also very interesting. I think that when he says I never bothered to practice it, what that then means is that it was basically already tied into how he approached something to begin with. Like, you're not gonna get good at something just out of nowhere. Like, if you say you don't practice something, then there has to be fundamentally something in your approach that helps with it. The interesting thing I feel here is the fact that if I couldn't do a hard pattern or anything, I could, and I did it once, I could do it again and again, which I feel is very much in line with how you play. Like, you feel like if you can hit it once, once you can properly read it, you should be able to do it consistently. Whereas for someone like me, that's not the case. I have wide swings in a wide array of my skills day to day, and even play to play. How do you feel about, you know, learning something once and then, yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I felt, especially with like, or not especially, but like even with top plays that I'll set, like with Ice Angel. I did it once, so like that made me more confident that I could re-FC it, and so I would. Like,
yeah, I think it was like second try again, like straight after.
Yeah. The 600 was my third FC on it.
Jesus Christ.
But like, yeah, no, because that's why like tournaments feel easier to me as well, because it's like lower star rating maps than what I'm normally playing, and then it's just stuff that I know that I can do. So I feel like
yes, all the effects will be
don't FC most
uploaded.
maps in like a match, I'll feel like I'm not playing up to my standard.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Which
I'm sure he feels like the same way, where
yeah,
if he can do stuff, like if he can do 6 stars really easily, then there's no reason why he shouldn't feel like he could FC everything in a grand finals pool if he wanted.
Right. And I think that largely comes down to you know, how you approach playing in general, where you know, someone like him will make sure that they perfect every pattern as best as they can, and then, you know, someone like you as well, where you then encounter it again, you should just be able to do it. Whereas for someone like me, I'm much more in the moment.
That's also probably why people like Webblefulf or Rustbelt are also so good in tourney, is because they're both very keen on like trying to make sure that their movements are as clean and crisp as possible.
Right.
And like making sure that they're not wasting movement, like Cookiezi says.
Yeah, if you can stop making unnecessary movements, you would be able to hit it for sure. Which again is just literally that. If you can properly, I don't know if that necessarily means snapping, but if you can hit it in a straight line, then that means you can hit it every time. What's your usual process for warming up? I wanted to see, like, what I expected out of that was that he would kind of mention focusing on reading initially, like before starting to actually play, so that is warmed up, and then use that as a basis. However, he was just like, no, I just sort by star rating, play any 7-star map. When I do high BPM, I start from lower BPM and slowly work up to it, which was a bit surprising to me. I like thought there would be a larger emphasis on reading, but I guess if your reading is good enough anyway, not necessarily necessary, and you just need to warm up your aim and your speed, I guess.
Yeah, I've always had a problem warming up speed initially, so I was expecting something like, oh, I start with like low BPM streams and then I start working on like faster single taps until I'm like feel like I'm warmed up. But he's just like, no, just play hard maps.
Yeah.
I love it. Next question, he says, can you try to describe what you focus on while playing?
This one was fascinating to me, by the way. Before you say anything,
can you describe? Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah, can you try to describe what you focus on while playing? And he responds with 2 question marks and then a line break and says, I just look at the middle of my screen and follow the most recent node on the map. I don't even stare at it, I just lazily follow it. If there are streams or hard patterns I get wrong constantly, I do focus, but usually I just barely focus on them. If I focus, my consistency increases. That's true, but if I do it so much I get dizzy, so I can't continue playing, so I don't concentrate. I can't. What?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. I had a little bit of an existential crisis this night. I read these questions last night. I read that. I just had a little breakdown, you know? A little bit of a crying fit.
I'm sure it's because he spent so much time focusing on actually making sure that his movements are crisp, that at this point in like his career he can afford to do this. But I'm sure you can't
Okay,
learn
that makes sense.
how to play the game by just lazily following notes on your screen.
Yeah, like to the point
Because
where
like he says,
go for it.
no, like he says, when his consistency increases because it's like better if you focus, but he just doesn't.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, probably in his peripheral. I'm sure he does look at. It's not like he just literally stares at the middle of the screen and like lets his peripherals take care of everything. Probably he just recognizes a pattern, and then because his movement is so solid and well practiced, based on just seeing the pattern itself, he'll be able to do it without having to look at the individual notes. Someone like me does have to look at every individual note, or I'll just start fucking up because I'm not at that level at all. That's probably what that means. I remember the only person that I talked to that had a similar approach was Baha. Wait.
Baha does that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which even then blew my mind, because that's, again, just not something that I ever thought anyone did. Certainly not someone... Did I say Baha? I mean Kablaze. I was fucking... God damn it. I was in my head going 50-50. I was flipping a coin. I was like, wait, was it Baha or was it Kablaze? I always mess up names. I'm bad with names. It's just, alright, I'll just shoot,
Kabaha.
And I missed. Kabaha?
Yeah. No, I
Kablaze, not
talked
Baha.
to Kablaze about this when we were like first starting, like 2014. And we were both like, huh, I guess that's just how you're supposed to do it. Because that's how we both did it.
Starting buddies.
It's a long story.
Oh god. No, that was really, really fascinating to me. Yeah, I guess he's just at that point where he doesn't really have to pay that much attention.
Sure.
How do you approach improving on new maps that you might not yet be able to do? I remember that was a question that you wanted me to ask specifically, that you came up with.
Yeah, like, if he can't do something, how does he get to the point where he can?
Right. It depends on why I can't do it. If I can't aim, I can memorize the pattern and hit it, or do maps with similar shape and speed, which makes a lot of sense. If I don't have the speed, simply I can just play a different and faster map. So, you know, to prepare for the other one. If you don't know the problem, there's no way you can find an answer to it. Which is a little line of wisdom that is so essential to basically everything.
What I find interesting is that if you can't aim it, you just memorize the pattern. But I'll think of like red like roses. You can't just memorize the jump section and then hit it. Like your aim has to be there as well. So I want to know how like he can go about doing that instead of just memorizing.
I understand what he means. But again, that's because I feel like if I can read something, I can also aim it. So I'm coming from a similar place where, you know, what I'll do on patterns like that very frequently nowadays is cut them up into like 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, like little jumps. If I can properly read along with it that way, then I'll also be able to hit it. He probably feels the same way. And you know, that's probably just higher base level aim then, I suppose.
Probably.
But the most important thing here is the fact that he says, you know, if you don't know what the problem is, you're not going to find an answer. Which is literally, you have to think about, why am I making this mistake? And then go from there to fix it.
For a long time, I thought I couldn't do fast streams because I wasn't fast enough, but it was really just because I would kind of panic and move my pen too fast along the stream. And I would never get better because I didn't realize that I was just aiming them wrong the whole time.
Right.
So, like, one thing that absolutely does help is looking back at your replays, because, like, it's something that really helps in learning anything. Like, if you're learning piano, just record yourself playing and look at your hands and see what you're doing wrong. If you're playing Osu, look at your replays and see where your cursor is at, like, where it's supposed to be, and you can see, am I not clicking correctly, or am I just misaiming, or what's happening?
But would you feel that only really helps for misses that are like consistently the same misses, or just in general?
Could be in general. Because if you're missing randomly, but you can see that it's because your cursor isn't always going all the way towards the note, then you'll know that your aim isn't, you're like not aiming far out enough, like just in general.
No, I get what you mean. It always feels so bad when you'll have like this super sick jump pattern and then you overshoot the last note. It kind of feels like
Yeah.
God, this is so hard, and apparently I had a little bit more left in the tank, but I kind of went overboard. That always feels worse than undershooting, because undershooting is like, oh, I'm just not fast enough. Overshooting feels worse. Let's go to 15 instead of 14.
Okay.
Because 14 is the last one.
15 says, is there a story behind how you decided on your left hand grip? I remember very old live play footage where you didn't use it yet. And he responds, was there a time I didn't? LOL, I don't even remember. There's no special reason. I just tried different grips where I can play comfortably and stuck with the one that gave me the best result. It's been 6 or 7 years, so maybe there was a story behind it. Maybe there wasn't. Just a big I don't know.
There's that, yeah. That's what I can imagine. I mean, if you find something that's comfortable, especially if you can stream like he does, it's like, all right, just stick to that. I remember back in the day, like 5 years ago, I had a friend who was friends with Cookiezi, and I remember Cookiezi saying like, whatever my grip is right now, it basically just feels like tapping on air. Like it doesn't take any real effort playing the way that I do. Which I don't know if you've tried it ever. It feels like hand torture. I don't know if it like happens to be a specific anatomy that has no issue with that particular grip, but fuck, man.
Like the one with his like pinky curling all the way?
Yes, yes.
I've never tried it, and never tried any other grip than the one I use now.
Gotta weigh your options, man. Gotta shop around. Gotta grip shop.
It's probably just because all other ones at this point feel so weird.
Yeah, that too. Last one, which is also a really long one. 14, well, or 15. For some closing thoughts, what are some of the things that you feel people should stop doing if they're trying to get better? What are some things they should be doing but probably don't? Let me expand this text doc. There we go. All right.
3 question marks.
Brace yourself for a long one. Yeah, 3 question marks. If it's something you shouldn't even be playing, don't expect results too soon. It's normal that your skill doesn't improve even if you practice a lot. I've seen quite a few people who didn't even try for a week and said, I tried, but I couldn't do it. Only people who can improve like that is for the people that just started. Don't be impatient. So basically, you're only going to improve quickly at the beginning. Don't expect fast results once you've been playing for a while. For those people that say that they suddenly got better, it's just because they practiced and constantly played, and the result of their hard work finally came to them. What you should do is playing an appropriate difficulty for you and analyze what you didn't do that well. Period. In the end, it's just a game you need to practice and work on to do well. But just stupidly trying to rack up play count, it's just wasting your time. If you just try to rack up play count, no matter how many times you do it, even if you do it 100,000 plus times, your skill will only improve on a microscopic scale. When I say analyze, there's nothing much to it. Just figure out why you missed what you're doing wrong. Know that, and fixing the problem gets easier.
Makes sense.
Don't ask for answers without knowing the problem that you have, which is a reiteration of what he said earlier, which again is just, I think the main message here, first, like there's 2 main messages. First being an innate drive to just perfect everything like beyond what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
And then second, just having that super conscious approach of make a mistake, don't just retry. First stop, think about why did I do it wrong? If you don't know necessarily, look at a replay, look at the editor, then consciously adjust in your mind. All right, so I made this mistake. This is how I'll fix it. Which really, it all sounds so simple, right? But obviously, when you're playing, actually playing, it's not that straightforward. And just if you do that consistently over a long period of time, you're gonna end up being Cookiezi. That's really the message there.
Yeah. He just was the person that had this like perfect combination of understanding what he's doing wrong and then just driving nonstop 110% until he perfects that. And then now it for other answers like, wait, how'd you do it? And he's just like, I don't know, just felt right.
Yeah, I think that, you know, I kind of was disillusioned with sending him a bunch of questions in the sense that I was expecting to get at least some inkling that was very different from what I was expecting. Well, the only very different thing that we got was the fact that I just look at the middle of the screen. I don't know. Outside of that, you know, it's just the hammering on the fact, make a mistake, realize why, no matter how small, correct it, go from there, which is literally how you get good at anything. I think that a lot of people don't realize that something like Osu it's not an esport. It's not the same as an established sport. It's not a musical instrument. There's no like established route to get better. So for the few people that do properly, deliberately practice, always analyze what they're doing wrong, someone like Cookiezi, someone like Raruchi, HFIC, I'm sure as well, and that's probably where you're just going to end up. And it's not just as simple as just realizing that you have to do that. You have to actually do it in practice, which is infinitely harder than just saying the words that you have to try.
Yeah.
We're not Osu athletes. Feels bad. Why did you stop playing in that specific approach? Did you just kind of stop caring?
Yeah, mostly. Well, it's because it took a lot of energy and effort, and like getting up in the morning and feeling like I had to work to be at, like, to feel warmed up and ready to play those maps. It just felt like too much effort, so I just mostly played stuff that was easy to me right off the bat, like when I woke up, which was like older maps, because I can just wake up and play those if I want. It's probably why. It's just me feeling lazy to actually put in the effort.
Interesting. All right. Well, oh yeah, and I'll definitely upload the text doc so you can read and masturbate at your own pace.
You can go back to that big XD.
Back to that big XD, the LOLs. Yep. No, again, I mean, if anything, it's good to have something this straightforward come out of this. Like, there's no secret, there's no specific weird approach that he has that no one else has. Just start small, realize what the fuck you're doing wrong, go from there, which is the hardest thing you'll ever do if you commit to it.
Pretty much.
All right, do you have anything to add at all?
I think that's everything.
All right. All right, now for the next 15 questions. I'm joking.
We asked Raruchi.
No! Feels bad, man. Started on a negative, depressed note, ending on a negative, depressed note. All right.
Bad.
Well, Mr. Toy,
on to better things.
On to better things. I like that. Thank you for joining me. Appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on again. I get special privileges coming on here twice.
Special privileges, hell yeah. All right.
Appreciate it.
Please enjoy game, and I'll see you around.
Of course. Yeah, adios.
Have a good one.
You too.